Oh, that's right. It is Monday afternoon. How you doing, Greenwood? Hey, we are ready here this afternoon with Senator Billy Odell. And first off, Billy, and welcome to the show. But number two, how are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling real well, and I appreciate the opportunity of being here with you. And as you know, I've had a little illness in the last few weeks, but I'm feeling much better, like I'm back up to par.
And when session gets out?
I'll be even better.
It'll be total recovery, right?
That's right.
It's amazing. Well, overall, Billy, how did you think this session went this time? I know in past times we've been here and you've been just like, oh, I can't wait for it to be over. How's it gone this time?
I think we had a very meaningful session. I think we passed some bills that needed passing, and I think that it was a lot of bipartisan support, which I was glad to see. The body coming together in order to do the right thing for the state. We can't just always say no because it's a Democrat or a Republican issue. We've got to come together and figure out what's good for the state and try to do the best we can in passing legislation.
Well, of course, what it is, tomorrow night at midnight, the governor has to have the budget, all her vetoes and everything in. Do you think there's going to be any surprises?
I'm sure that she's got. I mean, I haven't talked to the governor's office, but I'm sure that there's probably will be some vetoes. I don't know what it might be. I don't think it'll be meaningful vetoes. She's supportive, I think, of most of the really important issues that we dealt with this session. I know the transportation bill, which is very important. She's already signed that, so I'm not concerned that there'll be a veto there. I think that. I know the House goes back on Wednesday, and we go back on Thursday. So I think it should be a fairly easy day or so.
Sure. So you had your cybersecurity bill. What was that one all about, and where are you at on that one?
Well, we finished the Senate finished the bill sometime in March or April, and we passed it out. And the House, there must have been some aspects of it they didn't care for, so they did not pass the bill this session. They'll take it up again, I'm sure, next session, first session. But it kind of leaves a gap in the coverage, I think. What we were trying to do is ensure that this breach that we had with DOR would not occur again with any other agency. And by adding security measures, it will cost money, of course. And but I think it needs doing because with the technology available today, you never know who's hacking you or what information they're getting. And we've got to have whatever is feasible in place to protect ourselves.
Sure. So actually, we could lay this one at the House's feet for not finishing
I don't like to point fingers and say blame, but I mean they had their reasons, and you need to take some time with it. Actually, we started meeting on this thing, the Senate did, on the subcommittee I was on. We started meeting in November of last year. So we had a little bit more, I mean, it wasn't the full Senate, but we were able to prepare a little bit quicker than the House did. And it's something that's very significant, and I don't have any problem with them taking a little bit more time with it.
Just kind of, one of the things I know that you told me was in your bill was the fact that there couldn't be a lapse in the amount of funding to make sure we were covered. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we put some funding into the budget this year that will continue the protection we've got, which is just the monitoring of the credit of individuals. Unfortunately, and my thought was it wasn't too good, but only 38% of the people have signed up for this free credit mm-hmm. monitoring. And of course now the period is over now. They can't sign up now. But I'm hoping when the new contract that we come up with that they will have the availability to sign up. But 38% sounds low to me, but I've talked with other people that have been involved with these type of things, and they said, actually, that's high. Mm. So I guess we're doing better than I thought.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about was, what happened, did we have any people that we know of that were hacked immediately upon this happening?
No. From the information we gathered in our subcommittee, we found out that usually when something of this magnitude occurs, that the people that have the information would normally wait 5 years before they started using it. So I don't think we're out of the woods with it, but at least we have the opportunity to prepare ourselves, and you know, you might have to get outside a better monitoring system than the state's going to provide.
Sure. So there wouldn't be any possibility of somebody that had been hacked so that they might be having a problem and then sue the state or something like that?
No, I don't. Well, gosh, you know, when you talk about legal matters,
you never know.
I never know what could happen there.
Right. But as far as you know, nobody was hacked individually.
We heard of no one reported documented that they were hacked. No.
So,
But
okay.
you know, it could have happened. You know, 4.5 million or 3.5 million people. It's very possible.
Right. So there's nothing that's going to be happening on that till next year. Then is that correct?
That's correct. We have a request for quote out that will give those segments in there. It's about asking people to come in and quote what they can give us for more coverage or basic coverage, and that's ongoing. But nothing will happen until next year.
Till next year. Well, how about the transportation bill? Now, Governor Haley did sign that. Was it enough money to make things work?
No, it's not near enough money to make things, to do what we need to do. But it's certainly a start, and I think it's very important that we start, because I think anybody that travels on our roads now know that we've got a problem. And it's getting worse. So what we've done basically is put in, I think it's about $120 million, and that money can be leveraged to bring down federal money, which will, and the end result will be we're going to bring in about $900 million to work on our roads. Now, the problem is, it's my understanding that we're somewhere around 12 to 14 billion dollars.
That's B with a billion.
Right, of needs that need to be done in the state. Of course, we can't address that all at one instance.
Sure.
But in this budget, we did put $50 million recurring money, that will be there every year. That's mandated by the legislation we passed. And then also in the budget, we put down any surplus money. And I can't remember the exact number that is a surplus. That would be the first surplus money that would be used towards our Department of Transportation. But again, when you put that money in there, that means you can leverage some of the federal money. But the $50 million that we put in for recurring money is for secondary roads, which is our local roads. And of course, that's not going to address the problem all over the state, because I know in Greenwood County, there's a good many roads that needs a lot of potholes that we need to get fixed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, and not only that, the bridges, that's the other big issue. Didn't you put aside some money just for bridges?
We mandated a certain amount of money for the bridges. And we have what they call a state infrastructure bank. And this is, we can borrow money through that state infrastructure bank. And this money will go there for the bridges. And what they will do is the DOT will give us a list of high priority bridges, so that politics won't get involved in it. It's got to be what the engineers at DOT say needs to be fixed first. And I think that's important.
I thought a lot of that money always went down to the coast, Billy.
Too much of it is going to
the coast. It does.
You're exactly right.
Right.
I mean, and we all know this. So that's why we're trying to make sure that we use the projects that the Department of Transportation says needs doing. And that's kind of a safeguard to keep it from all going in one direction.
Yeah.
We need a lot of it up here.
We do. And Greenville has a bridge I think they closed down, or it's closed. Yeah. I mean, there are several bridges that are, or weight limits on bridges.
Well, I-85 is just a terrible fix. And if you go to Charleston or down that way anytime, 26 is the trucks are tearing that area up.
Sure. And isn't that another problem, is the inland port up here and moving stuff from here in the upstate down to the port and vice versa from the port to the upstate?
That's going to be very meaningful. I talked with the Department of Commerce, Bobby hit at the Department of Commerce, and I'm not sure this number, but I'm thinking he told me there will be 600 trucks per day less on our roads when this inland port is completed now. And I think it's going to be ready to move around September, so we're getting close. That's going to be significant, I think, in the state. And I believe he also said that it could double that number by just doing a little bit. And all of that, It's taken years to come about because they had a problem at North Charleston, at the old Navy base, and which was deeded to North Charleston, and they had to make arrangements there. And then the two railroads that come in, CSX and Norfolk Southern,
Sure.
they couldn't agree on how it was going to work, whether they could let one track cross over another. I don't know all the details, but it's been in litigation. Thank God that's over with, and we're on track now.
We're on track now.
We're on track. We're on track.
That's a good one, Billy. You're on track.
Yeah.
Well, you just brought up something very interesting. So actually, there'll be less trucks on the road.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But you know, and another fact that I was made aware of, and I think it's in about 10 years' time with the growth of the port in Charleston, there's going to be 25% more truck traffic. So, you know,
It's an offset for right now.
Right. So we've got a lot to do.
We've got a lot to do, and
But you know, 60% of that port traffic comes to the upstate.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's you know, people think it's the Charleston port. It's not. It's the South Carolina port
Sure.
because we depend on that port for the industry in this state.
Now, just out of curiosity, where are we at on the port? We were supposed to be doing a survey for the deepening of the port. Is that still going forward?
I think that's all been approved. I think if I might be wrong, but I'm thinking 2015 or 16 that we'll be ready to go.
We'll be dredged and ready to go?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize that. That would be terrific to know. And what about the money to pay for this now, just out of curiosity?
Most of it's federal money.
Okay.
I think we've got some. I think all of it might be federal money. It might be a little state money, but I think most of it's federal. That was some of the hoops that we had to get through with at the federal level in order to get them to, because it's $300 or $400 million that's going to have to be spent. I'd hate to see that come out of the general fund.
Well, last year you put aside some money to be able to pay for it if we needed to.
We
Guaranteed
guaranteed
it.
that
Okay.
if the feds didn't come through, and apparently they have come through with their end of the bit.
Otherwise, I bet you guys are sweating it.
No, yeah, right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that, as far as the port, that is going to happen. Now, what about Savannah? Is Savannah, are they going to deepen that one, or where's the deal? Do you know?
Well, and I don't know. I know that we've had a big rift between South Carolina and Georgia about deepening the Savannah River right there at the border. And to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense because they're going to put all of that spoil, as they call it, which has environmental consequences, on the South Carolina side.
Right.
And I know there are negotiations going on. I don't know exactly where we are. I think it was a real disaster that DHEC approved in doing that. And if you remember, that happened last year, year before last, and there was a lot of controversy
Sure.
about it.
Absolutely. Now, you know, we're talking about DHEC here a little bit. Of course, we had the TB breakout over there in '96. There's some lawyers suing DHEC and the school system, I think, isn't it both DHEC and the school system for lack of doing what's necessary here? It does seem like DHEC was kind of behind the eight ball, or do you think it was the school, or what do you know?
All I know is what I read in the papers, and you know, I haven't been involved in the issue because
Okay.
that's not an issue I should be involved with. That's DHEC and the school. And of course, when you get attorneys in it, I don't want to be involved in it because I don't want to be sued.
I understand. Okay. Well, then the bottom line is we don't know where it's
We
at.
don't know. I mean, I don't. And I know someone told me that, what are you going to do about it? Well, you know, what am I supposed to do about it? I don't have any relationship with what happens in the schools.
Sure.
Certainly with DHEC, they have a function that they have to do, and I don't know what happened.
Absolutely.
Somebody dropped the ball, that's all I can say.
I
It
understand.
appears.
Yeah, that's what it appears. Hey, I tell you what, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors. When we come back, we've got more to talk about. If you've got a question for Senator Billy Odell, just give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be right back. Oh, that's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery. Just had a call from Janice Mims, who is a adjunct professor at poli-sci at USC. She wants to know, is it true on your retirement that Governor Haley wants you on the budget board?
You know, I haven't talked to the governor about that, and I doubt that I have. You know, on my retirement, I think I'm going to be retired. I don't want to be on any board.
Understand that. And are you actually retiring? This person says don't.
Well, I appreciate the comments, and I know I have no intention of retiring as long as my health is as good as it is currently. But no, I'm enjoying what I do, and I'm retired from my business, but I kind of like the politics of it.
Well, there is so much politics that goes into everything. I would think at the end of a session, you'd just like to say, I'm so glad we're done for 6 months here, or basically trying to be done for 6 months.
Well, I think that's true. I think that's the case with a lot of things. You need a little break, but after you're gone, the session is over and you finish, and you have a few weeks at home, the adrenaline starts flowing again, and you're ready to go back in January when it comes.
Sure.
I think we could probably, hopefully, shorten the session a little bit. A lot of the work is done in committees that we do, and I don't think it's necessary to be there as long as we are, because we do a lot of committee work, put it out on the floor, and get a vote up and down. I think, well, of course, I don't think that you're ever going to be able to operate like a business, because when you've got 46 people trying to make a decision, you're always going to have someone that's different.
Sure.
And that's when it gets into all the talk.
Absolutely. Now, what about though the education bill going for a full day for kindergarten?
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people that were excited about that we would now have full day kindergarten. I don't know. You're in school for an awful long time as it is. Do you think we ought to have full day kindergarten?
Well, I don't have a big problem with it, because I think anytime you can give someone the ability to learn, that you're helping them. And it's not going to be good for everybody, no, but some kids are going to excel at it, some aren't. That's the way it is in life.
Sure.
You just have to work at it. I don't know the numbers. I don't know what the statistics tell you about the five-year kindergarten, if it's helped or not. I think, from what I understand, it's helped. So if it's helped at the 5-year, then 4-year might be even more of an improvement.
Sure. And how about the fact of school choice, and then also wasn't there a bill that had to do with disabilities education?
Yeah.
What do you feel about those?
Well, for the bill for the disabled kids, that I supported that, because I think that's something that would benefit kids with disabilities.
And there was a part of that bill that said that you could, as a business, could contribute
Yes.
scholarships and get. Can you explain that to us a
Well,
little
you
bit?
would get a tax
Credit.
break. It'd be like, whatever it is. It'd be a nonprofit that you could donate to and get a tax credit for that. That's good. I mean, some businesses would want to do that.
Sure.
As far as vouchers in general, I would oppose them, because I don't think the state can afford 2 dual systems. We can't say we're mandated to provide a public education,
Right.
and right now that's taking about all the money we can put into it, with its good, bad, and different. And I think our education system is good. I don't think you'd find people like Bowen coming here investing billions of dollars and continuing to come here if we didn't. ZF over here in Lawrence County is a big supplier for BMW.
Sure.
We're getting some prominence with the people. We've got one in Ware Shoals, and I can't even think of it. Anyway, they're very high tech, employing 68 people. I didn't even know about it for about 6 months ago. But and I had a meeting with the plant manager recently, and I was telling him, I said, what you need to do is, when you bring these Yankees in here, say, these all people are local people. They can learn, and they're doing high-tech work. And we found that with Bowen. We found it with all the companies that come in here. Our people aren't stupid. They know that they can do the job. They just want the opportunity to try it.
Sure. But do you think that comes from our primary and secondary education, or does it come from more the college level and technical school level?
I think the technical school level particularly has been a big asset to the state, because in any state, if you go into any state, and if you don't have what we've got here in this state with the technical educational system, no matter what type of business you're in or group that comes in, people aren't going to be ready to do that job. But if you got a tech school sitting there here, they can train them.
Sure.
At a reduced rate to the business. That's very appealing to the business. And most any business that comes in, they've got to have some job training.
Sure. Well, I know ZF has worked very closely with Piedmont Tech out there, and continually trains and is continually expanding over there. That's one that I'm very familiar with.
Well, just like with we got an announcement coming up this week with the Genetics Center, with a big announcement. It's going to be very, very meaningful for this area. I mean, we're talking about high-tech industry it's going to come into here. And we've got people here right now that can do the work. They might have to have some additional training.
Sure.
But then go back to our educational system. I'm thinking the secondary system is adequate. It's doing a good job. And they can be trained on further through the tech schools or the four-year institutions. But I'm very satisfied with what we're doing.
So you are not in favor of the school voucher program?
I don't think we can afford it. It's a dual system. That's what's happened with your four-year colleges. All of them, Clemson has an engineering program.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's going to have the same thing. I mean, we have not prioritized in years gone by. Therefore, we're supporting at the state level about 33 institutions of higher learning in a state with 4.5 million people. It hasn't been. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it now.
Sure.
Plus, you've got your independent colleges such as Erskine,
Sure.
Anderson University in Anderson, and they get tuition credits too from the state. So we're putting all this money into the it's needed. I understand it, but we can only generate so much as a state.
That's true. Hey, I tell you what, I am here with Senator Billy O'Dell. We've just been talking a little bit about education. Got a question or an opinion that you'd like to put out there? Give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We're going to join the news in progress, and we'll be back. Don't you go away.
Arg, are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery. We are here with Senator Billy O'Dell, just having a good time talking politics, talking about what happened down there in Columbia this year. You know, one of the things that was on the table here, big discussion, and I know a lot of Democrats were upset about this one, was expanding Medicaid.
That was on the table. We voted it down in the Senate as a bill that would specifically address that. And so then they put up this nullification, or what I call a nullification bill. That's not the real name of it, which means that we don't have to obey the federal government. And of course, the Obamacare stuff was in that. We didn't take it up, and I would have voted against it if we had, because whatever the federal government tells you, the laws that they pass, we've got to obey. We tried that, 150 years ago. It didn't work, and I don't want to get back in that dilemma. But some of the people are convinced that that's the best way to go.
So you would have not voted for nullification?
Not for nullification, no. But the Obamacare bill was was attached to it through an amendment. That was part of the package. Although we did vote down what was known as Obamacare as a bill, we voted that down, and I voted against that.
Now, what about the Medicaid? There was a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, particularly about the fact, well, why not take the money right now? It will only cost us, 5%? They were going to pay 95%, we would pay 5%.
Actually, the first year, the first 3 years, they were going to pay it all.
Okay.
But the problem with that is, when that 3 years is over, and then the state's got to pick up, I think, 5% of whatever it was.
Sure.
And then it raises, continually goes up. We're not going to have the money to do it and take care of the other needs of the state. That's part of the problem. Okay. I think that bill is so complex that even the federal people don't understand it. All the ramifications involved in it. And there's no way that I'm going to vote for something that I don't really understand exactly what's going to happen 2 years or 3 years down the road. And when I know what our budget needs are,
mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that the needs are out there for more health care. but there's got to be a better way than what they're coming up with at the federal level.
Sure. Now, what were you disappointed that didn't make it through this year? Anything?
Most of the bills that I was directly involved with made it through. One in particular was what we call the Angel Investors Bill, which was a method of allowing people to invest in small companies, and they would get a tax credit up to 25%, state tax credit, 25%. And because the reason for that is banks are having so much problems trying, it's very difficult for a small company to open up now. They can't get financing.
Yes.
So this will give them an avenue. And of course, the fellow that's investing the money in them, he's taking a big risk. So yeah, he's getting a 25% tax break, but he's taking an awful big risk when he goes with a small startup company. I think it was a good bill, very important bill for small business.
And that one has passed both
It passed.
houses?
Yeah, she signed it. I mean, the governor's passed it, yeah.
So
That was an important bill. And another one that I was directly involved with was with the appraisal industry, which Dodd-Frank's bill, which federal level set down, requires certain things that have to be done. And what was happening, we had these out-of-state appraisers coming in here, knew nothing about our people, our
housing
property.
market property.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and making appraisals, because the bank had to have that documentation in order to make a loan.
And then weren't the banks actually asking for these out-of-state appraisers? They didn't want to use the local appraisers. Wasn't that part of it?
I don't know if the banks were asking for them,
But Dodd-Frank was.
Dodd-Frank mandated this. They had to have certain things. Our local people could do it. Our local appraisers could do it. But these people, I don't know if they were cutting their price, but what I understand later, that they weren't paying. They weren't paying the people that were working here, and they were all out of state.
Sure.
A lot of them were anyway. And I said, no, we got that fixed. We got that problem fixed. Where our local appraisers would be able to do the bulk of the work.
Well, that's very good, because they do understand the comparables in the market and
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, you get somebody from New Jersey come down here to make an appraisal or influence an appraisal, that's not right.
No, it's not right. So, well, another issue that I wanted to discuss is ethics reform did not go anywhere.
Well, you're right.
I mean, am I right on that? Yeah.
I think that we've appointed a special committee to take it up.
Okay.
It's a bipartisan committee. It passed the House. I think the ethics bill passed the House and didn't get out of the Senate. So the President Pro Tem has appointed a bipartisan committee to work on it during the interim, and we'll take it up first, along with the Department of Administration, next session.
Sure. And of course, then that brings us up to the Budget and Control Board and Department of Administration.
Right.
Where do you think on that? There's been some conversation about that it puts an awful lot of power in the governor's hands. What do you think, Billy?
I think that there are certain aspects that needs to probably come out from under budget control, and then set up a mechanism. Well, you're going to have basically about the same thing if the governor has control of it, or if the 5 members of the budget control board now. The problem is, what I have a problem with budget control is, when we're not in session, they have at times had to recognize a deficit from a state agency like Health and Human Services. 3 years ago, they had a $200 million deficit. Well, you can't run a deficit. So the Budget Control Board went into the Capital Reserve Fund to take care of that deficit. I think the legislature needs to be involved.
I mean, that's called oversight, isn't it?
Yeah. and since we weren't in session, or we could have called a special session probably,
Sure.
and then you would have, I don't know why that wasn't done, but it wasn't. And that would have been
Just
expensive.
five heads were easier to work with than
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But then, what's going to happen if we have another deficit? And of course, now the Health and Human Services, that was under Sanford's administration. That's a cabinet agency. That was his agency.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to have the oversight on. And obviously, somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do. Yeah.
Sure.
And this is going to happen. I mean, if you take on Budget Control Board is a pretty massive agency, and they do a lot of things in the state.
But one of the big things they handle is the retirement fund, isn't that right? The Budget and Control
Yeah,
Board. And,
they appoint the commissioners for the retirement board, and of course the treasurer also has a lot to do with that.
sure.
But I mean, there's so many things that they do. I'm sure there are a lot of things that procurement is an important thing. That's purchasing.
Sure.
Now the state purchases, they spend a lot of money on purchases, and they're over
Do
that.
they need any jewelry? I just need to ask, do they need any jewelry down there?
I doubt that you'd be able to sell it to the Budget Control Board. But, I'm talking about, with contracts, with
Yes.
construction and things like that. Well, DOT,
Sure.
all of that. You're talking about a lot of money. And somebody has to have the oversight on it. And I don't know of any real problems that they've encountered other than the fact that they've taken care of some deficits that should not have occurred. Because we have budget hearings, we ask the agencies what you got to have for next year, and if we can, we fund them. If they don't, then they're not supposed to spend the money. But they did.
They did, unfortunately, they did. Okay. All right, well, we are here with Senator Billy O'Dell. We're talking about, we're talking about the Budget and Control Board versus the Department of Administration. We come back, I want to ask him about the checks and balances down there. It's kind of interesting how it all comes together and who wants what, and it's all about power. And then, of course, we have Washington, D.C., and all the scandals going on down there. We certainly don't want those type of things right here in South Carolina. So don't you go away. We'll be right back. Hey, if you got a question, give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. That's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery, talking with one of our favorite senators here, Senator Billy O'Dell. We've covered a lot of ground, Billy, but what about the restaurant cash and carry, the restaurant gun bill, being able to carry a gun into a restaurant?
Well, and I thought about it a little bit. And probably a lot of concealed weapons people carry the guns in there anyway,
Right.
even before we got to dealing with the law. I have a concealed weapons permit. I don't know that I've ever carried a pistol in the restaurant. Might have. I don't know. Sometimes you forget about it.
Sure.
But now we've got a law that says you can do it. Sometimes I think we pass too many laws. Make things more difficult.
Yes.
But it's the law, so I got a little problem with the fact that when you think about it, someone with a gun permit, and we aren't all same. Everybody's not the same. Has a little alcohol and gets mad at somebody, and you might see a fight, and then the police come up, and you got 3 people out there with guns. Who are they going to shoot? Or they don't know what to do.
Sure.
I feel sorry for the police having to work in that environment.
Sure. It's it can be kind of dicey.
I would think so, and I hope it doesn't happen, but we'll probably hear some instances of it. But then customers in the restaurant, if somebody's had too much to drink, they get in an argument with somebody else, and they pull a gun, they can start.
Well, I tell you what, it definitely would have put the quash on everything if that happens. I would think a bar owner would definitely not want that to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's going to change the whole mood of the place.
I think so. But again, like I say, people probably have guns on them in many cases when they go into these restaurants, and we haven't seen a heck of a lot of problems as a result of it. But now that it's a law, who knows?
Now, what do you think about the law that I think it's a law that they passed that people that have had mental issues are to be turned in on the database for not being able to own a gun?
I think it's a good law. That's what happened to this kid up in Connecticut.
Sure.
And
But he got his mother's guns.
I know.
So what was to stop him? What is to stop somebody
Oh,
from being able to get a hold of a gun, even if they don't go to a gun store or a gun buyer and buy
I
it?
don't think you'll ever be able to stop it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't care what you do. You can have all the security in the world, but it's going to happen. If people want to do something that badly, they're going to do it. There's just nothing we can do. We try to. I think we need to try to protect our children the best we can.
Sure.
But I have no doubt in my mind that it'll happen again. We've seen it happen all over the country.
Sure. Now, what about the gun manufacturer coming down to Horry County, leaving Connecticut because of their gun laws up there?
Hey, if we get business in this state, I'm happy with it. I see no problem with the manufacturing company.
No, I think it's great.
We've got a great economic climate in the state. Bobby Hitt's doing a wonderful job recruiting. Hopefully we're going to have some announcements around Greenwood soon. And I'm just delighted with what our state, and we've done this as a government body. We've made a conscious effort to make this state attractive to industry, because that's the only way we're going to get our people working. The textile industry, what we got left is great, but it
There's
used
not
to be
much
the
there.
mainstay. Yeah, it used to be the mainstay. Of course, we have a lot of tourism, and we're going to have to build on that somewhat too in this area. I think it's doing great on the coast, but I believe we've got areas of this upstate that we can build on too.
Sure. Now, of course, we're talking about tourism. We're talking about the things that are going on in our state. What do you think, Billy, though? There's this big discussion about the immigration law on the federal level. What is your opinion? You know, we hear all this back and forth, and for a while there, they were even talking about not securing the borders. Now they've gone back and decided they're going to double secure the borders. One of my ideas is, why not use the drones on the border?
That seems like a good idea to me.
But now they're talking about building this double fence and everything.
I don't
What
think
do
a
you
fence is going to work. I think the drones would be a better idea. I think it would probably be a lot cheaper, and you can see the people coming across. You can identify, and even at night, I think they have that infrared stuff that they
Sure.
would be able to see people trying to cross.
Yeah.
I think the borders need to be secured. I also think that the feds need to address this problem. We've been fighting about it for years, and it needs to be addressed and come up with some solution. Seal the border, do whatever we're going to do with the 11, 12 million people we got here that are illegal. Yeah, can you justify letting them stay here? No. Can you round them all up and send them back? No, because we don't have the money to do it. We don't have the resources to do it. I want the police out here arresting people that's killing people or robbing people.
Sure.
And we have some of them doing that, but I think the vast majority of them are pretty well family people.
I read a bill that Greta Van Susteren has written, her mock bill on immigration, and what she suggested, and I thought about it, and I thought it makes a lot of sense. Let them sign up for a green card. It doesn't give them citizenship, but let them sign up for a green card. That's very simple. Now you have them identified and everything, and do a green card. They can work, they can pay taxes, but they don't have the right to become an American citizzen.
I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
And I think only American citizens should be entitled to certain aspects of our health care, our welfare. And, you know, that should be the stipulation. We're going to give you this green card, but you're not going to get these services.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but you're not going to get them.
But to give them amnesty, you know, I
would
thought
give
the
them
green
amnesty.
card, the green card is a much better idea
Yeah.
because it challenges, it makes them identifiable.
Well, you know, in Europe, that's what happens over there. They cross borders. People cross borders.
Sure.
I think in Germany, I hear there's a lot of Turkish people over
Yes.
there. You've got a lot of in France. I mean, they cross borders over there, but they can identify them. They register them. They know what they're doing. We don't know what these folks, a lot of these folks are doing.
You're
No
right.
way of knowing.
And, you know, that brings me up to the farm bill. You know, the House did not pass, or the House, yes, did not. The Senate did pass it. The House did not pass the farm bill. What effect do you think that's going to have on our state at this moment?
I think it's going to hurt. We still have a lot of agriculture in South Carolina. You know, small farmers and large farmers. And I think the farm bill was probably will hurt them.
You know, I think the other thing that I've been reading some about is the guest worker program was started back in 1987, or the figure was given, and it was something like 55,000. That's nowhere, shape, or form can that cover the amount of workers that are needed. They say they need over 1 million workers. I'm talking about in the nation, not just in South Carolina.
Well, you know, there are jobs available. People aren't taking them. So,
Right.
you know, if you got somebody that will take the job, give them a guest worker card.
You know, one of the things that I thought was very interesting, Billy, I was reading that, what is it, $9.79 is how much a guest worker plus transportation plus housing, and yet minimum wage here in the state is in the nation, minimum wage is $7.25. That's a problem right there.
Yeah, you confused me a little bit. What is a guest worker? I mean,
That means immigrants coming in to pick the fruit,
and
or
they
to
guarantee $9 and something.
79 cents an hour plus transportation plus housing.
I wouldn't guarantee them anything.
They do.
What bill is this?
This is for the this is for the 55,000 that can come in.
Oh, legally.
Legally come in to do this. But yet our own wage is $7.25. Doesn't seem right, does it?
It doesn't. It should be based on our minimum wage.
Sure,
You
I
know?
agree.
You know?
I agree with you. And one
Nobody
more-
guarantees somebody that's working.
as a business owner, you know this, yeah.
Nobody guarantees my people they're going to have a ride to work. They got to try to provide their own transportation.
Exactly. And here's one more for you. What did you think about the Supreme Court striking down Arizona's law that they can't ask for citizenship papers when they are registering to vote? Okay, that says it all, folks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can you believe it? I cannot understand how we can do how they can do this. If you don't have citizenship papers, how can you
You can't
vote?
vote. I don't know.
It just boggles your mind, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. Supreme Court boggles my mind about a lot of things.
Yeah, it has totally gone outside the realm of things that are happening. Well, Senator Billy O'Dell, are there any other topics? We've got a couple minutes here that you'd like to address while we've been here this afternoon. I kind of monopolized what we were going to talk about.
Well, I don't have a large agenda for next session. I'm always interested in the business issues and how we can better education and health care. And I think that will continue to be what I'm looking at. I think that we're in pretty good shape. We raised the per student allotment for kids this year. I think we were down a couple of years, about 3 years ago during the hard recession, we were down to about $1,800 per student. Now it's up to $2,100. So we're continuing to look at that and trying to bring it up. I'm glad that we were able to get the school buses in this time. We're trying to get onto a program where we'll be buying so many new school buses every year because we've got buses on the road now that shouldn't be on the road. And there's got to be a systematic system in order to replenish the ones as they go out of date.
Sure. So those are some of the issues that are out there. As far as the school buses, doesn't the lottery helps with some school buses, correct?
Yeah, there's some lottery money put into that. And so that's, with the lottery system, I think it's the four-year institutions get a big buck of that tuition money
Sure.
through scholarships.
Yes.
Which my granddaughter's got the scholarship, and I'm right.
Life scholarship,
I hope
yeah.
she can hold on to it.
Yes, please, don't blow it. Yes,
Right.
there's a lot of good things, but of course, and it's been good that more money has come into the coffers through sales tax and all the other taxes and whatnot.
But the reason for that, a lot of it is we're creating jobs in the state, all over the state.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way that we're going to be able to bring things up to where they should be.
God, sounds like an economy in a capitalistic society. Hey, I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. For Billy O'Dell, it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you so much, Ann. I appreciate you letting me be on today, and it was a pleasure being with you.
All right, that's going to do it for us. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. Bye-bye, everybody.